All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody, to the high school. I know as I was watching people walk in, I think there's a few parents and guardians who could probably just come up and do this presentation, but I don't see anybody moving except for Mr. Schwegman and I, except for those coming in. So I guess we'll go ahead and go. This is the Class of 2028 scheduling meeting. I know, that's crazy. I'm old, we're old, we're all old. So welcome to the THS family, which is a phrase you'll hear me and a lot of the folks here say quite a bit. There is going to be a lot of information coming your way tonight, and students, you're going to hear a lot of information coming your way at the middle school over the course of the next couple days. The counselors will be following up with you. We'll get you over here for tours. This is a process, so tonight is really the first step in that process to get you transitioned. The culminating event will be our orientation, which will be usually it's about the second week of August before classes start. Right back here, we'll start here in the PAC and then send you out through the building with schedules in hand at the end of that session as well. So it is a process to get you transitioned. This is not the only time you'll hear from us. It's not the only time you'll hear from me. But we will be throwing a lot of information your way tonight. For those who can't be here, obviously it's being live streamed, and also it'll be available on the school counseling website. If you want access to the slides, those will be posted on the school counseling website on the high school webpage as well, which has hi Emily, which has tons of information on it. You could come up and do this presentation too. My name is Scott Davey. I'm the high school principal here. I do want to introduce just a couple of people. Mr. Cole will be your class of 2028 assistant principal next year. So we try to keep our assistant principals with our students as they go through. So Mr. Cole, that just basically means if there's a meeting pertaining to 9th grade or 11th grade next year, he'll be the one that'll go to it. And then to my left is Mrs. Hess, who will be our assistant principal next year for sophomores and seniors. She has freshmen and juniors this year. But you will see that Mrs. Hess, Mr. Cole, and myself, we are all the principals here. It's a shared leadership model. We are all just part of the administrative team, as are a number of other folks who I will have Mr. Schwegman introduce in a second after this slide, which is about athletics. So Mr. Richardson, who's also part of our administrative team, is our athletic director. And as you can see on screen, we do have a number of varsity programs here. That includes like fall cheerleading, winter cheerleading, as well as academic challenge. Those all fall under athletics, as does ice hockey. We currently don't have an ice hockey team here, but we could if we had enough skaters. So that's included in that as well. Probably the most new piece of information is at the bottom there. Those are the athletic fees that the Board of Education set at their December meeting. So what that means is if you play one sport, it's a $300 athletic fee to participate in that sport. If you play a second sport, you'll pay that fee again. But if you choose to then to play a third sport, we're incentivizing that, if you will, is essentially how the board approached that. So if you're a 3-sport athlete, that third sport would be free. And there's a whole lot of other information. If you have like a middle schooler and a high schooler, there's a formula for that. If you have multiple student athletes in your family, there's a formula for that. So there's caps that are involved in those things. But that kind of gets you the basic information about our athletics. The most important thing that I would say for our students who are in the room and for parents and guardians, for you guys to hear is get involved in something. Get involved in as much as you can. We have conversations all of the time with students as administrators, as counselors, who are just, they think they're ready to get out of here and go to work and do the adult thing. Raise your hand if you would not go back to high school and like do it again, right? Like we would go back and be a kid if we could. Kids, be kids as long as you can be kids. Be kids as long as you be kids. Play sports. Get involved in activities. We had our theater group in here right before we came in. Like, do something to get yourself plugged in. And obviously, the more you do, it gets a little more economical for your family as well. So get involved in as much as you can. Note that academics do count, obviously. So you do need to be eligible if you're going to play a fall sport. That's what that information in the middle is kind of talking about. All right, Mr. Schwegman.
All right, we have 3 counselors here. Mrs. Emily Zoldi, she has last name. If your last name is A through G, you'll be in her alphabet. I'm Savannah Schwegman. I have the last names H through O. And then we have Mrs. Kelly Stark, and she has last names P through Z. So if your last names fall in those alphabets. That's how it's broken down. We have a counseling secretary, Miss Jen Adler. Her information is up there as well. She's kind of the face of our office, and that's who you will see first if you come into the counseling office. So her information is up there as well as ours. All right, we're going to talk a lot about planning for graduation. We're going to talk about scheduling. We're going to talk about graduation requirements. It's going to seem like a lot of information, but primarily what you need to know is that your counselor or your child's counselor is working with them. We will sit down and we'll do one-on-one meetings with them each year, review transcripts, review their course selections. We do classroom presentations, so we're doing a lot of things to make sure that they are on track and have everything they need to graduate. Most students are on track and are in great shape, and if your student is not in the typical track, you will definitely be hearing from us, and we will be coming up with some type of plan together. This is just a sample of a form that we use to track all of their requirements. And we'll sit down with them. We update this as they continue through their high school education, and so we kind of always know where they're at and what's needed, what's left, what's met.
I would say, just chiming in a little bit of our graduation, we graduate nearly 100% of our students every single year. If you look at our actual graduation rate that's reported to the state, it's never 100%, and that's because we do have some students with special needs who we, along with their families, choose to keep here after 4 years. We run our what's called T23 program. So as you came in, you passed a little coffee shop on your left called the Perfect Blend. Our T23 students run that on Tuesdays and Fridays. So we're never going to be 100% graduation rate because we want to do what's best for kids. And our students with special needs who need those like career transition skills, we keep them here well beyond that 4-year mark. So what I will say about those in the general education population in graduation in 4 years, it is usually 100%. The number one predictor is actually school attendance, believe it or not. That's the one thing. We've looked at all of the things we could look at, everything from socioeconomic status to credit completion freshman year to involvement in athletics and activities, you name it. The number one predictor is just getting your kid to school on time every day. If you show up here every day on time, we will graduate you in 4 years or less.
Okay, so along with that, talking about graduation requirements. So there's 20 total credits that are required to graduate. Again, if you're passing everything, you will have beyond the 20 credits. But in general, you are going to need 4 English credits, 4 math credits. So that means you're going to be taking English and math every single year that you are at the high school. For social studies and science, you only need 3 years. So you could elect to not take something maybe your junior or senior year in a science. And then you are required to take 1 semester of health. Most of our students will take that their freshman year. There is an option on the course scheduling sheet that will be handed out to your middle school students this week to do online health over the summer in summer school. And we typically post that information late April, early May, to sign up for summer school. So they either take it their freshman year face-to-face, or they can do online health if they want to take some other electives and free up some room in their schedule.
And I'll jump in on that online health real quick. Most commonly asked questions, when is it? It's the day after Memorial Day and then 14 days after. So you have 4 days that week, 2 5-day weeks thereafter, plus of course the weekends. So summer school runs the first 3 weeks starting right after Memorial Day. You cannot get access to that class until the day after Memorial Day. We have, teachers who have to monitor that. We're not going to have them work on Memorial Day weekend, so the class is open that day after. If you're going to be out of the state, out of the country, anywhere where you have an internet connection, you can take this course. It is fully online now for summer school health. The average incoming 9th grader completes that course in about 9 to 10 days. I've seen students do it in a day and a half. I've seen students finish at the last minute, and everything there in between. It really just depends on the work ethic and the availability. So if you're somebody who has a camp that you're going to go to for 1 week, you can still get summer school done, right? You just have to be budgeting your time and planning. Parents and guardians who are really worried about that maybe being the first or second or third thing that's going to be on their high school transcript, that is going to be on their high school transcript. So if they drop the ball and end up with a C, they have a C. That is what it is. So you got to be thoughtful about what you're doing there, but it can be done during that 3-week window very, very easily for most students. no problem.
Okay. Additionally, there are 2 PE classes required, or we do have something called a PE waiver. So if your child plays a sport or is in the marching band for at least 2 seasons, there's a form in the counseling office that they would come and pick up. They sign it, you sign it, I sign it, athletic director signs it, and they're good to go. That excludes them from the PE requirement. I usually have students in kind of 2 camps, give me all the PEs, and then I have students who are like, no PE ever, right? So they fall in one or the other.
Students who participate in outside sports, ice hockey, figure skating, horseback riding, competitive dance, things like that, there are ways to have those things count for your PE credit as well. The same message you're going to hear tonight for the next 4 years. If you have a question like that, see your school counselor. They have the answer.
Usually. A semester of personal finance. Your student won't take this until usually their senior year, sometimes their junior year, so that's kind of a later on thing. We do have a fine art requirement. You need 2 classes of an art. You can do your ag. If you are going to do FFA, that could count as your art. Any 2 combinations of music, art. We have lots of really great electives. And speaking of really great electives, when you leave, the music program is set up outside. I think there's an art club table set up outside. So if your student doesn't have a really great idea about what electives they want to take, there are some booths set up so that you can get some information about those or kind of see what they're about. And then the rest of the credits will be elective credit. Okay, so in order to graduate, I kind of think of it in 3 different parts. We've got the 20 credits and what is made up of those 20 credits. And then we have something called, we have the EOCs, which is the end of course exams. So there are courses here at the high school that when they finish the course, they take an end of course exam. And they typically have to have a certain score in order to earn competency in order to graduate. So the 2 most important, I guess, EOCs are Algebra 1 and ELA 2. Your student has to have a 684 to demonstrate to the state of Ohio that they have earned competency. They're competent in those 2 areas. So that is a requirement for graduation. If your student doesn't demonstrate competency by their EOC, we do have other pathways listed up there in order to still graduate. This is typically not an issue. I would say, 90-something%, probably even 98% of our students earn the passing score on their EOCs, Algebra 1, ELA 2, and it's no big deal. So this isn't something that needs to be stressful. We will, we will track this. We will make sure that your student is meeting their competency requirement. But that Algebra 1 is typically taken their freshman year, and that ELA 2 is typically taken their sophomore year. So there's 2 big tests that year. Okay, additionally, there's some other EOCs. There's biology, American history, government, what else am I forgetting? Geometry. Okay, so those are the other EOCs. Most of those fall within the sophomore year. Students are aiming for a 700 or above on those. That's a passing score. So that leads, so there's the graduation requirements for credits, there's the EOCs, and then there's something called, they have to demonstrate readiness, and they do that by earning 2 graduation seals.
This is a good time to let you know that Talawanda did not do this.
Yes, this is the state.
The state of Ohio. These are their graduation requirements. Refer back to your counselors are handling this.
Yes, we're handling this.
When you hear all of this and you think about all the seals, and I don't expect Mr. Strugman to list all the seals that are available.
No.
There's many, many ways. Again, the number 1 predictor of success in terms of graduation from Talawanda, show up here on time every day. We'll take care of it.
Most students are earning their seals by earning a 700 on those EOC tests. If we get in a situation by their senior year and they haven't passed all of their EOC tests, we will work with them, find an additional seal that they can earn, and we will track it and we'll let them know what they need to do. Okay, let's talk about the honors diploma. So we have a regular diploma, and then we also have an honors diploma. This is different than graduating with honors. Graduating with honors is based on your GPA. So that's based on your grades that go on your transcript and the things that you're earning, like in honors classes or AP classes or your regular college prep classes. So graduation with honors is based on your GPA. There's nothing extra that you would need to do for that. But the state of Ohio also offers honors diplomas with academic honors diploma, and there are different requirements for that. So if you remember before, you had to have 4 English, 4 math, 3 social studies, 3 science. For the honors diploma, you have to have 4 in everything. Okay, so it's just a little bit different. There's other differences that are noted in the red up there, so you can see the 4 social studies, 4 science. You have to have 3 years of a world language. In order to graduate from Talawanda, you don't need a world language. It's not a requirement. It's strongly advised because most colleges will want to see 2 years of a foreign language. However, it's not required to graduate. If you're going to graduate with the honors diploma, you do have to have the 3 years. There's an ACT score. Instead of just the 2 seals, you have to have 4 graduation seals. And then you have to have an experiential learning project as well. So there are some additional requirements for that. Again, if your student is on track to meet that, we're keeping track of that.
You want me to talk a little bit? So I will say the course scheduling guide, which is updated every single year because we are amending our course offerings and tweaking different things along the way. That is already posted on the school counseling website, so you can access it there. When you look at the school counseling webpage, it's 2024. Most of us don't go to websites necessarily, but that is where we warehouse a lot of information that we then link to when we push out communications. So if we're pushing something out, it's probably linking to something on the website. But the course scheduling guide's on there. It's more than just a list of our courses. About the first half of the book explains graduation with honors, honors diplomas and the different types, talks about the PE waiver process and course auditing process, all of those kinds of things. We are still using Twitter, now known as X, to push out information. We also use Instagram and Facebook. So at this point, I apologize because I'm the person who's pushing those things out. If it's from Talawanda High School, it's coming probably from me. If I'm posting it on Instagram, I'm cross-posting it to Facebook, and I'm cross-posting it to X at this point. So you can follow all 3. I will tell you, the adult population tends to find us on Facebook. The students that are involved in athletics and their families that are involved in athletics tend to find us on X. And the students tend to find us on Instagram. You can find us on all 3. If I'm posting it on one, I'm posting it on all of them. The school counselors also will post some things on Instagram and also occasionally on their Twitter page. Typically, they'll tag the high school, and I'll repost that stuff as well. But it is good to follow those things. I cannot tell you the number of scholarships that get left unearned, the opportunities that get left untapped into. We have a healthcare internship that's coming up for our juniors and seniors through McCullough Hyde that they could get involved in. Kids miss those things, families miss those things because they're not checking their emails, they're not following us on social media. I will tell you, between e-news, email, and social media, we are getting information out about as much as is humanly possible at this point. So it's there, but if you don't follow, and I can tell by the vibrations on my watch right now that some of you are doing that right now, which is great, you're missing information. I mean, it's 2024. I don't like social media either. I run all 3 accounts. I don't love it, but I understand what I need to do to get information out to my families. It's important that you're following. So that's how you get connected with us. And again, resources like the course scheduling guide and things like that we keep updated are good pieces of information. But at the end of the day, if you can't find it, just ask your counselor. Mr. Z, do you want to come and talk about UC, or do you want me to talk about UC? What do you? Awesome.
How's everybody doing? So we have a unique program that's offered to our incoming freshmen. And one of the things that we did a couple of years ago is I had to take a bunch of coursework and get certified to teach college classes from the University of Cincinnati. And the program that they rolled out was called their Early IT program. And it basically provides a pipeline for students who want to get into computers and computer information technology. There's a bunch of different pathways you can pursue, but they wanted to try to reach into the high schools and give kids a easy way to access these courses. Your students, as incoming freshmen, have very few options to take college courses. And for the vast majority of them, it may be a little bit daunting to then be in a class with 18, 19, 20-year-olds. But we offer, through the University of Cincinnati, an in-house course that they can take if they qualify for it in the spring and do all the pre-registration things. They will be earning college credit while they're a freshman at Talawanda High School. They don't have to take it from a professor that's at Miami or UC or some adjunct online. They will take it directly from me. Now, one of the unique things about the courses that we offer too is that if a student doesn't qualify for CCP, they're automatically qualified for this bilateral agreement that UC has signed with us. Now, what that is, if the student gets a C- average in each one of these courses, and then they attend UC, all of these courses become college credit. CCP allows you to transfer this credit anywhere in the state of Ohio. So what I have is a lot of students will take CCP classes from me, and they'll end up at Miami in their computer information technology program. A lot of them will do game design, because I have a lot of kids that do game design. But if I've had a bunch of kids that have gone to UC on the bilateral as well. They'll take classes from me. They'll take all of them. They won't worry about CCP. They say, well, I'm going to UC anyway. And then as soon as they step foot on UC's campus, all those courses become active. And then they basically handle their entire freshman year before they step foot on campus here at Talawanda High School. The courses that freshmen would be offered are IT fundamentals. And if they wanted to, they could take fundamentals of web development. In order to take the rest of those classes, you would need to pass IT fundamentals and fundamentals of web development with a C or better in both of those. And then you would take your 11th grade year computer programming principles and computer networking, and then your senior year you would take systems admin and database management. I've had numerous kids that have gone through the program. I have recently had kids graduate. I know I have one that's working at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base now. It went through UC's program and got involved in cybersecurity. So if your student is interested at all in IT, this is a really, really, really good chance for them to earn college credit and also boost their GPA if you're interested in that. It's one of the earliest opportunities we have at Talawanda High School to do that. So it's on your course guide, and the counselors will help you out with that. But IT fundamentals and fundamentals of web development, the first two classes that you guys have the opportunity to take. Cool.
Yeah, counselors will talk a little bit more about the CCP requirements. You can see them on the right-hand side there for UC. We definitely have some students who have come into Mr. Z's, thanks Andy, come into Mr. Z's program and done without doing CCP, like they complete IT fundamentals and maybe even fundamentals of web development, and then realize, like, I really want to do this. And so then they've applied for CCP and they get the college credit for the other 4. But if you go to UC through that bilateral agreement, those first 2 count as well. So as he said, you can matriculate as a sophomore into their IT program upon graduation from here. So that's an example of a unique kind of agreement that we have with University of Cincinnati in that case.
Okay, we're just going to show you some examples of some transcripts because it is important for your freshmen to know that as they come into their freshman year, their grades are going to stay with them. They go on their transcript. They are not going anywhere. When they go to apply for college, for scholarships later on, for trade school, their grades right from the start of their freshman year matter. So this is an example of a student who had a really successful freshman year. They're doing great into their sophomore year. They're earning all of their credits. They're taking some honors classes, so you can see like Phys Sci honors, World History honors. So this is a student who's off to a really, really strong start. You can see that their GPA, the GPA is not on there. No?
That is interesting.
That is. Okay, their GPA certainly reflects that they're doing well if it were on the transcript, but they've earned all of their credits. They were at 11 credits. This is an example of a student who came in and is maybe having a little bit of a rocky start for their freshman year. They've earned some D's. They've earned an F in French, which is an elective, so they wouldn't have to make that up, but they also wouldn't get to continue on into the second semester of French. So you can see, again, that this is staying with them right from the start. Their attendance will be on there, so that's another key thing to recognize when you go to apply for scholarships or colleges. They will see your child's attendance for every single year, and that is a really big determining factor too.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So this is the one academic record, along with immunizations and like I think a copy of the birth certificate, that we keep for 99 years because we get calls for people who are in their 50s and their 60s. They're applying for jobs. This is how, I know Mrs. Adler's nodding her head because she gets the calls. But we get these calls from people who are in their 50s and 60s. This is how we verify that you graduate. The diploma is a keepsake. That certificate is a really nice thing, and you can hang it on your walls or you can do whatever you want with it. But this is what the school keeps to verify graduation. You'll note, and I know this one doesn't have GPA. I think it's because it's printed from 2020, 2021, but GPA is on there. We no longer rank at the high school. We haven't ranked now for a couple of years. We've done that because we had so many kids who were achieving such high GPAs that ranking was actually kind of hurting our students a little bit because it was pushing them too far down in their percentages. So to help our students at the top and be a little more inclusive with, getting kids into some more prestigious colleges, that was taken away. That was a long, long time ago, actually. But GPA is on there, attendance is on there, right? So if you're thinking about going to a workforce or, applying to Butler Tech or something like that, they're looking at attendance. That's on there. Grades obviously are on there. No quarter grades are on there, no exam grades are on there. It's the final semester average for any class that you take for high school credit, right? So go back to that summer school health, that's a semester class. That grade would be on there. What's not on there? Discipline, athletics that you participate in or any kind of things like that. It's really just academics, attendance, and test scores. Standardized test scores are on there for the state testing, I should say, not for ACT, SAT.
Yes. Okay, some important dates for you to have. Thursday, February 15th is when all of the registration forms are due to your TMS teacher. You are going to get your forms tomorrow at the middle school. I'm not sure if it's your ELA teacher. I think it's your ELA teacher that will hand those out, and whoever hands them out is who you will turn them into by February the 15th. It requires a parent signature at the top, so don't miss that. And you will have further instructions. Actually, we're going to come and talk to your child tomorrow at the middle school and kind of guide them through some questions in the form, and their teachers will be well versed in helping them complete the course scheduling form as well. And then on February 22nd, we will be coming again to the middle school to sit down with you and complete your schedule. So you'll turn that form in on the 15th. Your teachers will hold it until we get there the 22nd. On the 22nd, we'll sit down with each student one-on-one, review their course selection sheets, and enter their classes. They can ask us any questions that they have at that time. Their math teachers will give us a math recommendation for them. If their teacher is recommending that they have an ETH, which is extra time, extra help, which is like a guided study hall where they can get some extra support, they will also give us that recommendation at that time too.
Okay, so let's walk through what a typical schedule looks like, and I'll let Mr. Schweckman talk about some of the specifics here, but we are currently operating on a 7-period day. We know that next year's schedule will probably look a little bit different because, again, I noted the board met in December and voted to bring transportation back K-12. So that's going to impact what the schedule looks like because we'll be kind of at the mercy of what happens district-wide in terms of busing to get kids here. I don't think it'll look exactly like the schedule from last year just because we don't have Wednesday early releases. So there definitely will be some schedule changes, but we're anticipating a 7-period day. So when you look at the core requirements for a freshman, you're already locked into 4 out of your 7 And then I don't know, you want to talk a little bit about what this could look like?
Sure. It fills up pretty quickly because, as Mr. Davey said, you're locked into 4 of your 7, and then really your 5th one is probably a PE, because if you remember, you've got to take 2 PEs, so it's great to get one of those out of the way. The other one, as we said, is probably your health, unless you took it over the summer. And then it really just leaves 2 free periods. And if you think about it, if your student is involved in something like music or the ag program, that's one whole, row blocked off there. And
World language.
Yeah, and then world language is often what takes the other one, because, again, not required to graduate, but most colleges are going to want to see 2 years of a foreign language. So that fills up pretty quickly, which is why we do have a lot of students take that online health over the summer, to give them a little bit more flexibility in that. Okay, this is a sample of the form that is going to be passed out to your student tomorrow. So you can see their name goes at the top. That's where it says sample. And the most important part is that you are going to have 14 check marks on this sheet in total. So it's a little hard to see, but at the top, yeah, it's very hard to see on there. So they're registered in English. Next to English, it actually says YR. That means it's a year-long class. And so that would require 2 check marks, 1 for each semester. If you look down into where there's 1 check mark, the very first one there is cardio and core. That's one of the PEs that we offer. Next to that, it says SEM. That stands for semester. And so it would only have 1 check mark because that's not a year-round course.
Notice that it doesn't tell you what semester that course is in. And that's because we run a student-centered scheduling process here, which basically means we collect a form from every student, grade 9 through 12, right? So including our incoming 9th graders in that. We take our current master schedule, which tells every teacher and student in the building where they are every second of the day. We throw it in the garbage. We take these forms, we take the requests that are on these forms, and we rebuild the schedule by hand. It's a really fun process that everybody really enjoys here. But it's important that we do that because obviously requests change every year, right? So we might have, we have a CCP calculus class that's currently 3rd period and 7th period. Next year it might, we have 2 sections of it. Next year it might need to be 1st and 4th, depending on what students want. So we rebuild that schedule every year to try and get all the students here what they want. And we're usually pretty successful. We're about 94% get their primary requests. So it's important that you put your primary request on there with your 14 checks and then also your alternates.
But also very important that you'll see there's 4 alternatives listed. So as Mr. Davey said, we can't make a perfect schedule for every single student here. It would be impossible. But we we try really hard. But it's really, really helpful if you list 4 alternatives on there. So that way, if your student has signed up for baking and pastry arts, and that class is full because Mrs. Gregory can only teach so many periods of baking and pastry arts of the day, then we know what else they would like to be registered for. If it's blank, which is often, I have no choice but just to plug you in somewhere, right? And I have students come and they'll say, I didn't sign up for that. And so I'll pull their course selection sheet and I say, but you didn't give me any options, so I had to put you somewhere, and that's what fits. So please list alternatives because we really do try to put you in your 1st or 2nd alternative choice.
Note that you will get your core classes, English, math, science, social studies, and honestly, typically world language as well. We don't have any trouble there. So your alternates are really in your elective areas. So maybe cardio core doesn't fit, but we can get lifetime sports on there. Or maybe intro to art didn't fit, but we can get entrepreneurship on there. It's the elective areas where we need that little bit of flexibility. And then do you want to talk a little bit about auditions and applications now?
Yes, so also on there, hard to see, there next to the year or semester column, there is another column that talks about if there is an application or audition required. So if there is an audition or application required, there will be an A in that column to indicate that there is something else additional required to enter that class. Some of the music classes, for example, will have auditions. If it's an honors class, there's an application for that, and we'll talk later about that at the honors meeting. So there's some other things. If it has an R, that means it's a requirement in order to graduate. So if you know, I know it's hard, but like the health up there has an R next to it because it's a requirement.
And right below the alternate boxes is where you can put, if you want to do summer school health, that putting an X in that box obviously doesn't count towards your 14 check marks because you're doing that in summer to get more flexibility. surely there's questions.
Questions.
I will say, if you're interested, sorry, and then I'm going to come to you. If you are interested in learning more about honors classes, hold those questions because we will resume a presentation here at 7 o'clock and take care of all of the honors related questions then. But go ahead. Okay, so the question was, if they're doing marching band or a sport, do they check PE? If it's a sport, no. But if they're going to do marching band, they should sign up for marching band. Marching band is a co-curricular, so it is a class that is offered here. However, if you participate in 2 semesters of marching band, that does get you your PE waiver. Show choir also gets you your PE waiver. Those are the 2 courses that we offer besides regular PE courses that can get you credit here. Go ahead. So hopefully they continue to do marching band. But we have never had to go back and do that, but we do have the availability to go back into the middle school and look at choir and band for that reason, if we need to. Yep. Go ahead. Is there a cost for summer health? Yes.
Yes.
Summer school health is $150. Standard, it's $150 for the 3 weeks.
Yes, and then put alternatives for us.
And just maybe repeat, just in case people didn't hear the question.
Yeah, so the question was, if you are going to audition for maybe one of the music classes, should you put your 2 checks in that box? So let's say show choir. Yes, put your 2 checks in show choir, and then if for some reason you were not to make the cut, we would go back to your alternatives and put you in something there.
And if it's a vocal audition, so let's say you're auditioning for chamber singers, and you do the audition, Mr. Pearson, who's our choir director here, says you'd be a better fit in women's ensemble or concert choir. He'll make that recommendation on his form back to us, and we would put that on there. We're assuming that if you wanted to sing, you want to sing, but you know, if you get your schedule in August and you realize that's not what you wanted because you didn't make it or whatever, you can always make a change. But if it's a vocal choir that you audition for, you'll end up in one of the vocal choirs. Sometimes 2.
Go ahead. Yes, so far.
Yeah, so the question was, do we still have tutorial built in? So 2 years ago, we only offered tutorial, which was 24 minutes, 26 minutes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. This year, we have it for about 26 minutes for every kid in the building, all 5 days of the week. Our hope is to be able to do that for next year, all 5 days as well, because we do not have study hall at the high school. We have the extra time, extra help. That's really for students who need that executive functioning. So how to get organized, how to get into your progress book, figure out if you're missing something, get work done. Kids who need a little bit of that kind of that push or that prod. We do have something at the high school called lab aids. So if we have a student who is in, for instance, like 6 bells that are really rigorous, and they really don't want that 7th bell, they could lab aid for a teacher, which basically means you're in that teacher's room during that bell. You're typically able to get work done. Sometimes you're helping them do something, but we do have that availability. So there's different ways to get kind of around that a little bit, but we are planning to have tutorial as of 6:38 on January 30th, but there are some decisions being made outside of my purview that may impact that. Hopefully not. Other questions? Yeah, so the question was, what if they're in Spanish 1 right now at the middle school? So if they're in Spanish 1 at the middle school, they would probably be registering for Spanish 2. They could make a switch to French 1, but Spanish 1 at the middle school, Algebra 1 at the middle school, and Geometry, if they happen to be in it at the middle school, all are actual high school classes that would be on their high school transcript by the time they come here. Those are the only 3 classes currently offered at the middle school that count for high school. Other questions? Summer school dates, so it's the day after Memorial Day for those 4 weeks, and then the 2 following weeks thereafter. I believe this year it ends on June 14th. So whatever that Tuesday is after Memorial Day is the start date. I can actually tell you your class will probably become active if you choose to do that at 12:01 because it'll be programmed to click on at that time. And then there's an orientation video that tells you how to get logged in. That usually comes at like 7 in the morning or something that morning for students. And it has to be done by 10 a.m. that Friday, whatever that is, the 14th. It is completely self-paced, yeah. It's fully online. You can work at your own pace. Like I said, I've seen students do it in a day and a half and get an A. I've seen students take all 3 weeks and get less than an A.
Anything else?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, so CCP, the question is, can freshmen take college classes? And the answer is yes. So the state of Ohio offers something called College Credit Plus, CCP, and so students can actually start taking college classes as early as 7th grade in the state of Ohio. So what you would need to do is we are having a CCP, if your student is interested in taking college classes, there is a meeting on February the 8th, Ms. Stark? Mm-hmm. February the 8th, what time? At 5:15, same place here. We'll see you again.
Remember that Twitter, Instagram, Facebook? It'll be on there.
Yep. To find out more about College Credit Plus and the application process, but yes, they could potentially take college classes their freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year. Yep.
That's a great question. So the question was, does taking CCP classes at Miami impact any potential Miami scholarships? Actually, they do, because any classes that you take through CCP that you then obviously transfer to Miami, if you were to matriculate there, factor into your GPA. So your high school GPA is going to get you your kind of entrance scholarships on their little table. I don't know how much you are familiar with the college process, but they have a grid that tells you if you have this GPA, you can expect this range of scholarship dollars. So it'll impact your high school GPA is what's used to determine that, but your college GPA is what allows you to continue to get that scholarship. So if you did well in your CCP classes, you'd be in good shape, but if you did not do well, you could actually end up hurting yourself in that respect. You know, maybe you passed the classes, but you got C's. That could hurt your scholarship at Miami. So I would recommend, if you have any even remote interest in learning about College Credit Plus, come back on the 8th. Representatives from Miami will be here to answer some of those kind of questions, because it's really, like, we kind of briefly brushed over the importance of your high school transcript. College Credit Plus classes go on your high school transcript and your college transcript forever and ever and ever, for as long as you're alive. So there's a big impact there. So do not enter into College Credit Plus lightly, for sure. Absolutely. So there are ways to take classes through CCP that can count towards high school graduation. Even if they don't count towards one of the core requirements, it's going on your transcript and it's counting as one of your electives, though. So let's say you took a criminal justice class. Right, that's not a graduation requirement for us, but it will go on your high school transcript and impact your GPA. Other questions? If you have individual questions, come and grab us. Mrs. Zoldi and Mrs. Stark are around. Mrs. Hess is around. Pretty much any one of us can answer your questions. Mr. Smids in the house in the back, if you have questions about life at the high school or physical science or physics, that's your guy. And 7 o'clock if you want to learn about honors. You got about 15 minutes. Thank you, everybody.
Test test.
I promise you. I turned it off. But I can just use the one down there for the honors thing.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Because I'm afraid this one's batteries are going to die.
Okay, I'm going to assume that everyone's here, even though it's 2 minutes early, and we're just going to start. Can I have your clicker, please? Thanks, sir. I don't like this cord. Oh. Okay, we're going to talk about the honors program and the honors classes. So hopefully you are here because you would like to challenge your student and they would like to take a little bit more rigorous courses. Our honors courses typically work at a little bit of a faster pace. They dive a little deeper into the material. They are also weighted higher than their regular class too. So there's lots of advantages of taking an honors class. And we're going to talk about those tonight. There is an application in order to take an honors class. Your current teacher will need to evaluate you. It's based on your current grade in the course, your attendance. Again, as we've talked about, that attendance is really key, especially if your student is taking an honors class, because as we said, those classes are going to move faster. They're going to dive deeper into the material, and so one day missed is it's significant, especially in an honors class, and especially as you start piling on those honors classes. So if you're in more than one honors class and you're missing a day, you really start to stack up the work that you need to make up when you return. The important thing to note about the honors application is that you will need to complete a Google form for each subject of the honors class that you're applying for. So if you are applying for all four, English, history, science, and honors math, you don't need one for math. 3, you would complete this form 3 times, okay? So this is the first year that we've done a digital application, so I'm really crossing my fingers that works for you. But you would need to scan that, and I saw some people with their phones out already scanning it. That would be great. I also have printed copies that the middle school will have. My McGuffey students, they have the honors application, and there's a link. It will be posted online. It will be posted out to our social media. But again, if you want to scan it right now so that you have it, and you could have it in a web browser so that when you're ready to go and complete that application, you've got it with you. So again, you will submit one for each honors class that you want to apply for. Yep. Those are due February 15th, just like the course selection sheets. Okay, again, due February 15th. I forgot to change this. This is the first year for digital applications, so it says return to your teacher. You don't need to return anything to your teacher, because when you complete that Google form, it comes into a spreadsheet that I have. Once all of the names are input into the spreadsheet, I will then send that out to your teachers to ask for their input. So you do not need to do anything other than fill out that form. That's it. Okay. Questions? There's no way. Write it down.
Do you recommend
weighting of honors classes. So one of the benefits of taking an honors class is, one, the academic challenge, but also it's a great way to increase and boost your GPA. So a lot of our students at Talawanda will graduate with, in fact, over a 4.0 GPA. In fact, we have 34 students this year graduating summa cum laude with a GPA over a 4.2. So, I mean, we've got a lot of great, amazing, really successful students here at Talawanda. So the way that the weighting works for typical college prep classes, A is a 4.0, B is a 3.0, and on down. For honors classes, an A is a 4.5, a B is a 3.5, and so on. So they're weighted a little bit different. They carry a little more weight. They will increase your GPA. So again, that's really great if you're earning those A's and B's in honors classes. But if you're starting to get down, those pull your GPA down significantly. So yeah. Yeah, so typically we like to see a C or above. Sometimes if you're borderline, we'll have that conversation, but C or above to continue in your honors classes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, so the question is it still the same grading scale, like 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to 89.99 is a B? Yes, that is how they're graded. Yeah, 89.5. Go ahead. Sure. What's the typo on? Like your name? You put the wrong teacher? Did you spell the name wrong or like totally the wrong teacher? You could send me an email and I can correct it for you. Or you can complete a new form. Yeah. Good question. Because that's bound to happen. Anything else? I know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Great question. Great question. Yes, so she wanted to know if eventually, are there AP classes and how do AP classes differ from CCP classes? So yes, there are no AP courses for freshmen, but into their sophomore year, as soon as their sophomore year, we do have AP classes. Typically, if they're on the honors track, they will eventually make their way to AP. AP is in-house here at Talawanda and taught by a Talawanda teacher. At the end of taking, they are weighted at a 5.0. So how honors classes are weighted at a 4.5, AP are weighted at 5.0. When you are finished with that course in May, we will have a lovely 2 weeks of AP testing where we are testing students for the AP test, and depending on how they perform on that test, they could potentially earn college credit, and that would follow them wherever they go for AP testing. The primary difference between AP and CCP would be that we do have some in-house CCP classes, as Z was talking about earlier. We also have a CCP English later on, a CCP Calc class later on. So we do have some in-house, but most CCP classes take place off campus. Those are usually weighted at a 5.0. However, it gets a little sticky because CCP classes are weighted at the highest level that your school offers in that subject area. So if you took a CCP English, because we offer an AP English, it would be weighted at a 5.0. However, if you take a CCP Spanish, because in our four language department, we only have up to honors Spanish, then that CCP class would be weighted at a 4.5. So the weighting varies a little bit. Many of them are a 5.0, but there are a handful of CCP classes that are only weighted at a 4.5. CCP credit, so the AP test determines if you earn the college credit. As long as you pass the college class for CCP, you would earn college credit. However, that's only transferable in the state of Ohio to public schools. So state of Ohio allows you to take that CCP credit to any public school in Ohio. A private school out of state might or might not honor that CCP credit. Typically they will, it might count as elective credit. It might not count for their specific English that they're requiring. Whereas if you took the AP English test and let's say earned a 4, that transfers anywhere, private, public, in-state, out-of-state. That's a lot. Go ahead. It depends, yeah. Honors Algebra 2. Yeah. They're going to Spanish. There's only an honors Spanish 3 and 4. Yep. Yeah. Correct. Correct. Yep. And they could take Spanish 2 next year, and they could be done, but if they're going for that honors diploma, you would want that 3rd year of Spanish. Yep. Yep, there's Spanish 4. Yep. They become like a little community because it's such a small little group. It's fun. Yes. No, freshmen aren't allowed to take that. It's on there because that's an application for everyone. Yeah. When you get your course selection sheet, you'll see that there's no option for AP Art for a freshman. Yeah, good question. Anything else? Missing? Are we missing anything? No? Yep.